Hi, today we're going to be looking at numberless word problems, and this is for a math class for the third grade level. Now I know what you're thinking already. Numberless word problems in math kind of contradicts yourself, but this is a fun and collaborative way between the teacher and the students to look at math and really find out what numbers are important. Myself, when I was teaching a third grade class, that was something that I noticed when students are dealing with word problems. They know the math, but sometimes when they have to do it with application, it's a little bit tricky. So let's take a look at a numberless word problem for the third grade level. Now, the first thing you'll notice, and the first thing you want to do with students is ask them what they notice and what do they wonder. Doing this with my third grade class, a lot of students looked at the large gentleman here and thought he was almost as tall as a pyramid, and it's just great to see what kids notice. So again, you're asking them what they notice, what they wonder. Now, students can observe quietly and record their noticings and wonderings in a journal. But you can also give the students a chance to do a think pair share, so the students can talk to each other and then share as a whole class. Or what I did was just have a large class discussion. Ask them the question, what do you notice? It's really open-ended. Never want to judge what the students notice or what they bring out because it's a fun example and it can lead to some silliness, but the bigger picture is definitely worth it, and that's something you'd want to corral, nip it in the bud early. So the next slide that you would show is this right here. And if you haven't done already, again, have students estimate their heights. Now that's important because, again, this is a math class. So we'll hear what students say. And if they don't know that the heights are going to be presented in metric units, you want to tell them, but at first, let them give it in feet because that's what they're probably more accustomed to. It's your job and the teacher's job afterwards to then ask them, well, how many centimeters is that going to be? So you'd read the question. Sultan Kosen, the world's tallest man, and Jyoti Amj, the world's shortest woman, met in Cairo for a photo shoot to boost Egyptian tourism. Again, ask them, what do you notice? Answer you might get is, oh, well, one person is the tallest person in the world, and the other is the shortest person in the world. That's how you can get into a conversation about height. Next slide. Sultan Kosen, the world's tallest man, and Jyoti Amj, the world's shortest woman, met in Cairo for a photo shoot to boost Egyptian tourism. Mr. Kosen is 35 years old and from Turkey. He is 251 centimeters tall. You're starting to see that the numberless word problem is already starting to get numbers. What you want to ask your students is, what's changed since the last time we read? Well, we know he's now 35 years old, and we know he's 251 centimeters tall. We're getting more information. Ask them, what do we know now that we didn't know before? It's really interesting that the students will start to pick it up right away. And for students that don't or have trouble understanding metric system, you might want to use a meter stick in your classroom to illustrate his height. Depending on your wall space, you might model the distance on the ground instead of against the wall. So another way you can do this if you want to have fun and if you have the space is you can have a few students stand or lie down depending on how you've modeled the height to get a sense of the comparison. Now, we know he's 35 years old and we know he's 251 centimeters tall. The next question you ask, now that we know his height, how tall do you think Miss Amj is? You're going to start to get some different answers. Another question to follow up after that is just to be like, we know he's 35 years old and we know he's 251 centimeters tall. What information is important with the question I'm asking you? So now you're starting to see students know, okay, well, yeah, he's 35 years old. That's information, but it's not what we need to know. Next slide. Sultan Kosen, the world's tallest man, and Jyoti Amj, the world's shortest woman, met in Cairo for a photo shoot to boost Egyptian tourism. Mr. Kosan is 35 years old and from Turkey. He is 251 centimeters tall. Miss Amj is 24 years old and from India. She is 188 centimeters shorter than Mr. Kosan. This is where students will start to get really excited because they'll be surprised that she's 24 years old. Again, though, you're asking what's changed. What do we know now that we didn't know before? Ask, is Miss Amj 188 centimeters tall? Yes or no? How do you know? You want to make sure that students are seeing that she is 188 centimeters shorter than Mr. Kosan because there's a difference. Now, you're going to ask, what questions could we ask about the situation? Next slide. And this is the very last slide, actually. Sultan Kosan, the world's tallest man, and Jyoti Amj, the world's shortest woman, met in Cairo for a photo shoot to boost Egyptian tourism. Mr. Kosan is 35 years old and from Turkey. He is 251 centimeters tall. Miss Amj is 24 years old and from India. She is 188 centimeters shorter than Mr. Kosan. How tall is Miss Amj? So now, breaking the question up like that, the students are starting to see what they're actually being asked for. So, ask your students, in your own words, what is the question asking? Rephrasing is really key for students to hear questions back in their own words. Give students time to solve the problem independently or in pairs. I did this, students doing it in pairs with whiteboard and markers. Look for students who use subtraction method and students who use addition method. So then you can have a conversation about different ways to determine her height. You share and compare solutions and strategies after the students have found their answer. This is just a short, brief video on how to use numberless word problems in a third grade classroom. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.